Right. Rob, we are now at our quickfire round. And the first question to you is, who, alive or dead, would you like Keir Starmer to put in your fantasy cabinet?
Well, I think what Starmer seems to be looking for is big, heavy-hitting figures with natural authority, working-class roots, good links to the business community, good links to Europe, where we've got to make some difficult negotiations and so forth. And for all of those reasons, I have landed on Thomas Cromwell, or at least the Hilary Mantel version of Thomas Cromwell. Guy with lots of experience, great track record in governments, great institutional reformer as well, and of course very good at getting money for the government when it needs it, which is also something that the Starmer government will be looking for. And I'm putting him in as sort of minister without portfolio with a roving brief, and essentially just send him into any ministry where they seem to be underperforming to scare the living daylights out of whoever happens to be the cabinet minister in charge at the time.
Yeah, but he did lose his head at the wrong moment. Second question. What's the one issue not getting enough airtime that you think Labour needs to bring up its policy agenda?
Well, I think they are paying attention to it, but I hope they will follow through on it, because I think it's one of the big issues that could get lost in the sort of rush of daily news cycles and so on, is citizenship and political rights. And we haven't had a proper wide-ranging reform of citizenship laws in this country for 43 years, since the British Nationality Act 1981. There are all sorts of tangles and problems with the current system, which produced, for example, the Windrush crisis. There are millions of people who've been living here for decades who don't have political rights. And the public opinion on all of this is very clear. If people have been here for 3 to 5 years and they've been making their contributions, working and paying their taxes, they should have access to the same social and political rights as everybody else. And that emphatically isn't the system we have right now. So it strikes me as an area where we really do need a reform, where a reform would make a tangible difference to the lives of millions of people living here, and where reform isn't necessarily too difficult to execute in principle, but where there isn't necessarily a big and sustained and powerful lobbying group exercising its voice on this front. So that's the area where I'm hoping. I mean, I know they have said stuff about this, so I don't want to be too unfair on them on that front, but I'm just hoping that they will follow through on that, because it strikes me as an area that could easily get sort of blown onto the next week tray week after week after week, because it's never quite the most urgent thing.
Do you think that would blunt their kind of we're being really tough on immigration sort of vibe?
I don't think it need to, because it depends on the nature of the reform. You could combine a generous offer for those who've been here for a while and contributed with more coherent rules for example, deciding who gets to come, removing people and stuff like that. So there's no reason why you couldn't have a combination of generosity for those who play by the rules with tough enforcement for those who don't, which is really where the public are on this. So I think it is one of those issues where you can walk and chew gum, but I think there are a lot of people in government who worry that you can't and just don't want to talk about it because they think it's just uncomfortable terrain. But, you know, there are just so many problems and paradoxes with this. For example, you have kids who get to 18 who, when they were born, their parents neither parent had ILR, indefinite leave to remain, and they get a letter saying that they're going to have to pay foreign student fees when they get accepted to university. They've been living here their whole lives. That happens day in, day out. And if you put that to a focus group or put that at a poll, people are, well, that's completely ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. So there's lots and lots of stuff like that could be cleared away quite easily and bring in a much more coherent system.
And final question to you, Rob. What is the ultimate power test that you would set Keir Starmer?
Well, I mean, I'm going to reveal my true colours as a dyed-in-the-wool YIMBY centrist dad here, because I feel that the clearest, most obvious, easiest to judge metric for the new government is getting more housing built. Mm. Getting more housing built in general, getting more council housing built, getting the rate of home ownership up, getting the cost of buying a house for first-time buyers down. These are easy metrics to judge a government on. This is something the Starmer team have said they want to make big changes on. It's an area where I know both of you have discussed it in the past as well, where what the problem is not difficult to identify. it's a lack of political will in grasping the nettle of solving that problem that has been government in, government out, the problem. So if you've got a Labour government with a serious mandate and serious power, that's the test. Fix that. We've been trying to fix that for 30 years. No one's managed it. So pass that test and I'm happy.
As a fellow YIMBY centrist, Ed, I could not agree. Well, except I'm not really centrist anymore. I'm like, everyone else has moved so far to the right that I'm now wildly left wing. But, I used to be centrist.
You're like a Green Party person now.
I am, however, still YIMBY.